Let me formally announce to you that the Eurogroup has a new president, Paschal Donohoe. I do not have to introduce Pascal to you. Let me just say that it has been a true pleasure working with Pascal for the past 2.5 years, and his contributions to the Eurogroup's work has been highly valued by colleagues. I have no doubt that Pascal will make an excellent president of the Eurogroup and will heartedly wish him every success in his post. It is time for me to hand over. So, Pascal, congratulations again. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and I look forward to having the opportunity to speak to and to get to know all of our colleagues from the media that are attending this event virtually, and look forward to engaging with all of them during my tenure as President of the Eurogroup. I want to begin by first acknowledging the immense work of my colleague, my friend, Governor, I should say, Mario Centeno, who during his tenure as President of the Eurogroup laid the foundations for allowing our euro, our common currency, to be stronger, to be more resilient at a great time of challenge. It was a great privilege to have the opportunity to work very closely with Mario, both as a colleague, as Minister for Finance for Portugal, and then as President of the Eurogroup. And I saw at first hand his qualities of skill, of patience, his dedication and moving the debate forward. And I will do my best to continue those qualities during my tenure as President of the Eurogroup. I want to acknowledge and thank the members of the Eurogroup for the support that they have offered me in the vote earlier today. And I'm very conscious that as this vote takes place, we do so in the shadows of, as Mario described it a moment ago, two different crises. The aftermath of the crisis of the sovereign, the current deep challenge that we now face of the crisis of a pandemic. And as I begin my tenure as President of the Eurogroup, I'm deeply conscious that the citizens of Europe are looking at where their national economies now stand, are looking at the European economy and have become concerned, have become fearful again for their futures, for their jobs and for their incomes. This is a challenge that I understand. It is a challenge that members of the Eurogroup deeply understand. And during my tenure as President, when I take over from my colleague and friend Mario, I will be working closely with all members of the Eurogroup to look at how the euro, to look at how our shared currency can be a foundation in responding back to these great challenges. And as great as the challenges are, and I know how deep they are, I'm absolutely confident that with my colleagues in the Eurogroup, with our governments, we have the ability and we have laid the foundations to overcome these challenges and to prevail. And I will play my part in working with all members of the Eurogroup to ensure that this group makes the contribution to that recovery. The challenges are great, but we will prevail and we will overcome them. Thank you.
I will take 6 questions from Zoom, and you will forgive me this time around for not following the usual Zoom order. I will start to give the floor to Naomi O'Leary from the Irish Times. Naomi?
Hello, and thank you very much for taking my question. My question is for Minister Donohue, and I would like to know how he proposes to bridge the gap on the disagreement on the EU Recovery Fund and what the chances are for a deal next week. Thanks very much.
Naomi, thank you very much for your question. I will be working very hard with all of my colleagues to ensure that the Eurogroup plays a very constructive and positive role in reaching agreement on the Recovery Fund. Of course, the really vital next step will be the meeting that will take place for our leaders in the European Council. That will be happening at the end of next week. And I would expect in that guidance will be given at both the national and the European level in terms of how we can make progress. I believe there is much to be done. There are many complex and challenging decisions that need to be made, but I believe the will is there to find a way to reach agreement. During the discussions that I had with all members of the Eurogroup during the campaign for the presidency, I was very struck by the appreciation that all colleagues have regarding the scale of the challenge that we have and the commitment that is there at national and European level to ensure that we can put in place the decisions that are needed to deliver an inclusive recovery. And while I am deeply conscious of the difficult decisions that need to be made, I understand the differing views.
Next question, Maureen Khan from the Financial Times. Maureen?
Hopefully you can hear me better than David. I have a question for Minister Donohue. A couple of questions. Firstly, there has been a sort of a general thematic debate about the relevance of the Eurogroup now that this crisis is definitely one that is happening among the 27 members of the EU rather than just the Eurozone. Mr. Donohue, could you maybe give us some of your pitch about how the Eurogroup can be relevant in this recovery debate? One of the ideas is that the finance minister should be very involved in scrutinising the plans, the national recovery plans that will be put forward by countries in the autumn. And another question about maybe the medium term after the immediate crisis phase is over. Mr. Centeno has spoken about the importance of having budgetary rules which are fit for purpose and which reflect the economic reality of life after COVID, which will probably mean higher debt burdens for everyone. Can you tell us about what you think and where you think the budgetary rules debate should go, and whether this is something the Eurogroup needs to get a handle on sooner rather than later? Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen, for your questions. Could I just check in with the organiser if my answers can be heard?
Yes, we are hearing you loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to double check. Maureen, thank you for your two questions. Firstly, what is the role of the Eurogroup at a time of such crisis? To emphasise, while I do believe the challenges are great, I believe these are challenges that Europe has already shown its ability to respond back to. And I know, working with my fellow finance ministers, that we will take the kind of decisions that are needed to lay the foundations for a recovery that can respond back to the needs that our citizens have. In terms of the role of Eurogroup in that, what I will say for now is I believe the Eurogroup can play a really essential role in forging a consensus around the kind of policy decisions that need to be made that matter not just for members of the Eurogroup, but will matter for all members of the European Union. And I've seen it firsthand how my colleague Mario was able to do that in terms of some of the big decisions that we had to make. And I will plan to build on that work in my engagement, not just in Eurogroup, but then with all of my colleagues across ECOFIN. In terms of decisions regarding the potential normalisation of budgetary policy, I think it's really important to sequence the kind of decisions that we need to make. I want to echo what all of my colleagues have said during this press conference, that our first priority has to be that all of us in Europe play a role in ensuring that the role of a recovery fund is something that can become a reality and something that can become meaningful in allowing our citizens to get jobs back and supporting employers in the journey they need to make to rebuilding a new economy for Europe. I think it's only in the context of that journey being well underway, being visible to our citizens, being visible to governments, and being visible, of course, to financial markets, that it's really at that point that decisions should then be made about the potential normalisation of budgetary policy. And what I will be doing is engaging with my colleagues in the Commission, Paolo, with Klaus, in relation to the debate on that. I've already heard the views of many colleagues of Eurogroup on that, and I hope during my tenure as president to contribute in a meaningful way to that debate. But I should emphasise that the first step we all need to take is putting in place the right measures to ensure that we are responding back now to a crisis that poses such a huge challenge to the livelihoods of so many of our citizens.
President-elect, thank you very much. Thank you, Mario Centeno, the President of the Eurogroup, Commissioner Gentiloni from DSM, Klaus Regling. Thank you all. This is all for today. I will also say goodbye personally. The next Eurogroup will be in September in Berlin. Congratulations.